Corn on the cob, for me, is one of the most fascinating things I get questions about all year because everybody has their own way to do it, and most of them, to be honest, are not right. So I'm going to give you the definitive method for doing corn on the cob. First of all, it has to be blanched. You can't take this, take away the silk, and put it directly in the freezer. If you do, you're going to have a lot of problems that may develop, including the potential for microbial growth that you want to avoid, especially if you let this thaw at room temperature, because the moisture underneath here between the husk and the kernels themselves are a good place for microorganisms to grow, and if you let it thaw at room temperature at some point or sit there, you get a lot of microbial growth. So let's look at here. I've got the corn shucked and it's ready to be blanched, but the time is going to be variable depending on the size of the cob. So we're most interested in the biggest impact on how long blanching has to be done is based on the size of the cob. So you're going to sort, first of all, by how thick the cobs are. These are a little bit different, and it's best if you get a ruler even and measure how wide the cobs are, because anything over 1.5 inches is going to take about 11 minutes. If you get something that's less than 1.25 inches, it's only going to be about 7 minutes. So you get a lot of variation based on the size of the cob. So sort first, also cut them in the appropriate length. Blanching is going to accomplish multiple things. One is that it's going to clean off dirt, and that's really important with some kinds of vegetables that grow directly in the soil, but it's really important with all of them as well. It's also going to destroy enzymes or deactivate enzymes, and that's critical for storage, because if you don't do that, you're going to get discoloration and you're going to get nutrient loss at a much higher level than you do otherwise, both of which mean that the effort and the money that you're putting into keeping your corn in the freezer month after month is going down or up and up and up, while the quality of the corn is going down and down and down. So blanching becomes critical for almost all vegetables, onions, mushrooms, and green peppers being not among that lucky group, but everything else, and corn on the cob definitely is in that group. You want to have a pot, hopefully, that you can drain quickly. If you not, you want some kind of a lifter, either tongs or something, that you can get things out real fast. Now, we're going to put this in a pot of boiling water and submerge it. Once it's in there, we're going to wait for the water to come back to a boil, and we're going to set our timer. Since these are large ears, it's going to be 11 minutes at a boil, so you're going to want to cover it with a lid. Remember, you don't start the timing until the boiling comes back. If it takes longer than 1 minute for that boiling to reoccur, you've put too many vegetables in at one time. It's probably going to take you a lot of trips from here to here in order to get it all done if you've got a lot of corn coming on at one time. But this is a real important step, so take the time to do it. After your time has gone by, you want to pretty much move fairly quickly, because under-blanching and over-blanching are equally problematic as far as freezing of vegetables is concerned. Well, you notice that I put the entire level here. This is why this kind of a pan is so nice, and we want to swish them around a little bit. We want them to cool, and that's going to take just a few minutes. I'm going to shortcut it for our program here today, but you want them to cool probably about as long as it took them to heat up, so they get good and cold. Although with something like corn, you can probably shorten that down. Notice there is no ice in the container of water here, or the sink of water. You do not have to use ice to chill it down. In fact, it's not recommended any longer that you do, because it adds to the cost of freezing. And so in order to keep the energy costs of the process of getting it into the freezer through, you don't need the ice. You just need it to chill down enough that it can get chilled clear through. And we're trying to chill it clear through to the cob, which you won't be able to tell so much by holding here. So it's going to take longer than what I'm giving it, but I want to move on to the next step for our demonstration here. The next thing you really need to do is make sure that it gets good and dry, because otherwise it's going to stick together more and form ice crystals, which are going to cause the quality of the product to go down again. So get it nice and dry, and then have a container that's the appropriate size for the number of ears and the size of ears that you're going to be storing. So 1 meal's worth of ears might go in here. And I didn't check to see how many are going to fit here before I started, but that would be a good idea before you start blanching them. And that's going to vary a little bit depending on the size of the cobs that you're using and the length. So here we have 1 meal. Get as much air out of that bag as you can. Notice that I've dated it and labeled it before I got to this stage. And then this is going to go directly into the freezer. I would probably do a little bit more effort to get that out. In fact, I'm going to show you one thing that you can do to get out even more air by opening this up just a tad. And you'll have to dry the sack again, but if you submerge it in water, that forces the air that's around the cob out. And then you can seal it before any water gets in, seal it down, and you'll have a much more airtight package. If you have a vacuum sealer, this is a good time to use that. If you do use this submersion method, make sure you dry the bag off really well. And then this goes in the freezer in an area where you are not overloading it, so that you maybe have a pound of or 2 pounds of food that you want to freeze per square foot of freezer at any one time, so that you can't take an entire garden and fill it, or it will freeze too slowly and you'll get lower quality food. That's the basic steps. As I said, they're very important. I have gotten more options on how to freeze corn than just about anything else. Everything from putting it through the dishwasher and the washing machine to freezing it in the husk, not doing anything, freezing it with the silk, blanching it, not blanching it. This is the way to go. If you really want to have corn on the cob that's going to taste good in February, you need to go through these steps. Store it at 0 degrees and it'll be good for you for a good 6 months.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.